guys, and welcome to another one of my everyday makeup drawer videos. I break these into two parts now. In the first video, we go through what is in my drawer this last month, in this case last probably month and a half. I talk about the products, I give you swatches, we talk about what we want to leave in here, what we want to take out and substitute out. And then in my second video, we actually go through and shop my stash to put new products in here. I typically try and do these every 3 to 4 weeks. This has been more like 5 or 6 weeks at this point. I've been traveling a lot for work and I didn't want to take all of the makeup that was in here for various reasons. And so I was pulling from my regular collection, and I've also been testing quite a few other drugstore products to try and wrap up filming for my drugstore roundup, which is coming soon, I promise. But I do now want to go through here and kind of pull things out that I've played around with, and then we'll go and shop my stash for some new stuff this next month. If you recall, last month's theme was Korean beauty products and then also indie brands. So I went through and shopped my stash for indie makeup brands and then also all of my Korean makeup products so that we could play with them in here. And so I want to share with you kind of what I thought about these. I typically only include products from my stash in here. I do not put new products into this drawer. I have a separate little kind of acrylic drawer for testing those, but I did toss in some things from a Korean brand that I just found in my local CVS called The Creme Shop, which I addressed at the end of my Shop My Stash video last month. So actually, let's start there. This is from The Creme Shop. This is their Cover Story Full Coverage Concealer. This is the lightest shade that they have. This is the shade Fair. I liked the texture of this product quite a bit, but it is incredibly yellow and it looks slightly jaundiced underneath my eyes. So although I liked the texture of this quite a bit, I just couldn't get behind the strange yellowy cast that it put underneath my eyes. So unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work to me. I do think I'm going to pass this on to a friend that is a little bit more neutral undertoned versus yellow undertoned. And I will also say it did look like a lot of the products upon further look through at my local CVS, at least for the foundation and concealer products, were very yellow toned. So just heads up on that. I also had this Laneige cushion concealer in here. This is in the shade number 11 Rose Porcelain. It's one of these ones that has a cushion tip in the top, and I do really like this one. It has actually quite a bit of coverage, but let me show you what I mean by a good matching concealer to me, and then one that is too yellow, just so you can really see in comparison. I know sometimes the undertones can get lost on camera. So there you can see one that is close to my skin tone, that's got more of a pinky neutral undertone versus that very yellow concealer. Another concealer that I had in here is from the brand Stellar. I do really enjoy this brand quite a bit. This is in the shade L01. I used this a lot this last month because I felt like it was a little bit lighter than the Laneige one, if you can see that there. Still with a really great undertone. This one's definitely got more of a pinky undertone, good for canceling out blue, and this one is just more of just close to my skin tone. So I do really enjoy this Stellar concealer quite a bit. And then there are two in here that are just staying in here until I use them up. One is from number 7. This is their Radiant Glow Concealer, also in the shade, no, it's shade 10, not Fair. I got to be getting close to this. I cannot see how much is left in here, but it just feels very lightweight. And I would say this one, as opposed to being sort of a pinkier undertone, it definitely has a warmer undertone, but it's more of a warm undertone from peach versus a warm undertone from yellow. So I'm gonna leave this in here. I do wanna use this up. I do really enjoy it. And then the other sort of kind of concealer-y thing in here is my L'Oreal Magic Lumi. This one is more, doesn't have much left. I use this for sort of lightening parts of my face. I'll put this one here. Versus true concealing. It really is more of a lightening, brightening type device, if you can see that there, but it definitely has sort of pinky undertones as well. So there are all the concealers that I played with this last month. Once again, those are staying in here. And then this is my Revlon Photo Ready sort of stick concealer that I use for concealing blemishes. So I am gonna have to find a replacement for this when I use this up, because Revlon is not cruelty free. So I'm in the process of trying to figure that out, but this one stays in here. So there are the myriad of concealers that I played with. I did use this up. This is my Essence Make Me Brow in the shade Give Me Brownie Browns. Sorry, I had that wrong. So I did use this up. So this is gonna go in my empty stash. And then because I ran out sort of halfway through all of this, I did go ahead and pull in my AOA Studio Brow product. This is in the shade Medium Brown. I actually really like this one. It's only $1. It really almost fills in my brows better than the Give Me Brow even. So to be honest, I may just be purchasing this go forward. If you missed my AOA Studio video, I will link it down below, where I actually applied AOA makeup from the Shop Mistake website. So all dollar makeup for 3 days straight, and tested a whole bunch of different products. This was one that I absolutely loved. So this one is now going to stay in my drawer. And then another one that I think is going to stay in this go round, maybe just to continue to use it up, is the Brow Stylist Definer from L'Oreal. This is in the shade Dark Brunette. I don't love this product, if I'm being very honest. It's just a traditional pencil. It's not the best color. It's not awful. I mean, it's not super warm. Definitely has enough of a cool undertone that it works, but I don't know. It's not my favorite product, but I would like to see myself get through this, so this is gonna stay in as well. This, I think I'm just ready to chuck. I have used this for several months in a row here. This is the 3D Brow Tones from Benefit. This is one that's in theory supposed to, this is shade 4 by the way, this is one that's supposed to, in theory, give your brows some more dimension versus like setting them down. I gotta be honest, I continue to play around with this. It doesn't set my brows. I don't really love the effect that it gives when I use this versus something like this, because this is a fiber brow gel product and this is just sort of a tinted gel. It doesn't really add any volume. So I don't know. I've had this in here for a while. I'm not loving it. I'm just ready to chuck it, to be totally honest. My Laneige lip balm stays in here. I've been using this while I'm getting ready just to kind of soften up my lips, but unfortunately Laneige is not cruelty free either, so I will need to find another product to replace this. This is a little sample size. This is from Tressique. This is one of their mini highlighting sticks in the shade Maldives Luminescence. I did really enjoy this one on very natural makeup days. It gives just a really subtle, pretty pearlescent sheen, so I loved that, but I'm ready to put it back. So this liquid bronzer from Temptu is actually really pretty. It has a little, it's SB, which so it says shimmer bronzer. It has a really nice, neutral, not super warm, not super cool undertone, blends into the skin incredibly well. When I use a beauty blender and kind of tap this into my skin, it really does give me a nice soft bronze effect that's not too harsh. The shimmer is not glittery, it's just a nice satin, so I do like this one and I feel like it lasts all day, but I'm ready to put that back. All right, next row back, I did go ahead and finish out this Tarte Tarteist mascara. It's totally dead, so about halfway through the month I went ahead and pulled a backup mascara that I had, and I pulled in the Lancome Launcher Big Mascara. I had a sample size of this, and I have to be honest, I really enjoyed the sample size. This one feels very wet and like it's weighing down my lashes, and I don't remember that from the sample size, so I'm hoping this is one of those mascaras that gets better as it sort of dries out, because right now I'm not loving this as much as I would have told you I did from the sample size. I've also heard people talk about how sample sizes can differ from bigger sizes, so I don't know if that's going to be the case here or not, but it is the mascara that I am working through right now. So yeah, that is in here along with my Clump Crusher, which is still going strong, and my little Dr. Fixer primer. Urban Decay Primer Potion stays in here. I had my little Touch and Soul Metallist Liquid Foil and Glitter Eyeshadow Duo. This is the shade, what is this? Talia. Has a beautiful pearl shade on one end. I was using this not only all over my eyes from time to time, but also as an inner corner highlight that actually lasts a long time because it's a really light, strong champagne, pearl champagne color. And then I did really enjoy this glitter from time to time as well over the top of this product. It really is a gorgeous, gorgeous combo, really almost liquid looking. My camera's having a hard time even focusing on this. It's so shiny. This was fun to play with, but we'll put that back. So my CoverGirl Lid Lockup was the other primer, eye primer rather, that I had in here this month. I do think I want to leave those in here. And then I did finally, I'm ready to pass this on. This is my Physicians Formula Eye Booster in the shade Blackest Black. This one just is not working anymore. I mean, it's super, super old. So I'm going to pull this out and kind of put it in my empties. But I do still have this Stila one, which is still going strong. It is a felt tip liner, which is not my favorite. I prefer a brush tip, but this one hasn't dried out on me the way that I feel most brush tips do. So I'm going to keep this one in here along with my brown Physicians Formula one, which is still going strong, and my Wet n Wild one. For primers in the back here, this is my Dr. Brandt Luminizer primer. I did really enjoy this one. It's nicely moisturizing as the weather's gotten colder and the air has gotten less humid and drier. I've really been liking these moisturizing and glowy primers again. This one is really, really pretty. It gives a nice subtle glow to the skin, very subtle glow, but it also gives a whole lot of moisture. So really enjoyed this. And then the other face primer I had is from Etude House. This is the Face Blur Primer. This one is very smoothing. It is very light colored. It actually brightens up my skin quite a bit when I use it. But I really don't think I want to keep this because it smells so strongly of baby lotion or like baby powder. I can't quite place the scent, but it's very strong and it really lingers. Like, I will have put my makeup on and 2 or 3 hours later, I can still smell this. So the amount of fragrance in this is just, it's a little disarming, and to be honest, I kind of, I don't know, blocked that out of my head because I really liked how it looked, made my skin look, but I just really started noticing it this last month quite a bit. So this is one I think I'm going to go ahead and pass along. And then the only other thing back there is my Sunsprise SPF, so that stays in here, and let's go ahead and shift that way. Okay, so I have a lot in this center section. I had a lot when I started, but then I added the Creme Shop products in here and it just got even bigger. So let's get this palette out of the way just so it doesn't get in the way of everything. This is my Fiona Styles multi-dimensional color palette. It has 3 blushes down here, 2 highlighters and a bronzer. So here are the 2 highlighters. I definitely can only wear the lighter one here. The second one here is just way too dark for me, but I can definitely wear the bronzer. It's really pretty. Then all 3 blushes have really nice undertones, sort of peachy, neutral, and a cooler pink. So I really do like this palette, and my rule of thumb is I don't keep face palettes or buy face palettes anymore unless I can wear pretty much like all but one of the shades in a palette this size, and because that kind of fits the bill with this still, and I did use this one a couple times as a eyeshadow, I do want to keep this one and put it back in my drawer. All right, let's tackle all of these foundations. So first one here, this is from Stellar. This is a beautiful, really sort of soft satiny foundation. It's not the most glowy foundation you've ever used, but it gives just the most natural, healthy look to your skin. I have the shade S02. It's actually a good shade match for me, but maybe a hint too dark in the winter time. So I was glad to kind of get some more use out of this before I'm at my fairest. Oops, I've got... Sorry, I wiped my hand off with a tissue and now I have fuzzies all over my hand. So that is the shade there. It actually worked really well for me. This here is from Misha. This is their signature Real Complete BB cream. This one is a lot more moisturizing and hydrating than the original Misha product that I think they're probably the most famous for. It has a really pretty sort of really neutral, almost a grayish undertone to it, but it really matches my skin well. In fact, to the point that I think you're going to have a hard time even seeing it on my hand compared to the other one. I did really enjoy this quite a bit. In fact, I could see myself pulling this back in February or March when my skin is really, really dry towards the end of the winter. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. Another Korean product I had in here is from Holika. This is their Petite Aqua Jelly. This is in the shade 21, which is their lightest shade. No, shade 1. Yes, this is shade 1. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused. This is shade 21 for anyone who is curious. This is shade 1, so this is the lightest shade of this. This is one that just looks like skin, and it's a little more yellow toned, but it's not so extreme that I feel like it doesn't work on my skin tone. And it really just, it lasts incredibly well. It doesn't look drying. I feel like this is strangely a formula in its weird gel-like consistency in this jar that for some reason works well on oily skin, works well on normal skin, and I've even seen some people with dry skin really enjoy this. The bottle's beautiful, so it also lasts all day without breaking down. So I did really enjoy this one quite a bit, but we'll go ahead and put that back. And then this is the foundation from the Creme Shop. It is a beautiful glass frosted bottle. I did get a darker shade. I think you guys saw in my Shop My Stash video when I demoed this that I had the lightest shade and it was just way too light on me. So I did go back and get one shade up, which is 12. I have the same problem with this that I do with my concealer, and that is that this is very yellow based. There we go. Like extremely yellow based. And I mentioned that the Holika one was yellow based, but in comparison, that one's going to look slightly normal. If you can see that, the Holika one has a slight yellowy tint to it, but it's not nearly as yellow and crazy as this one here from the Creme Shop. So unfortunately, this shade does not work for me at all. That being said, I do want to go ahead and keep this one because I am going to be buying a blue-based sort of color corrector foundation from, what is it, LA Colors, I believe. And in theory, that is supposed to shift super yellow foundations to be something more neutral. So I'm really curious how it works. And because this is my most yellowish foundation, and I did like how it looked on my skin, it was very natural, very slightly dewy, but not over the top dewy and shiny. I liked how this sat on my skin. I just felt like the undertone was so bad that I couldn't wear it. So I'm going to set this to the side because I want to try it with that blue foundation when I get it. And if it does work rather, I will probably hang on to it. And then the last foundation that was in here was from a brand called Ohai. This is a shade that I don't really know. It doesn't say on the back. This is a cushion compact. I have come to the decision that this is just too dark for me. I'm going to pass this on to a friend. The few times that I wore this, I just felt like it was really, really, really dark, and I just couldn't, I don't know, I felt strange with it on my skin. So it's a beautiful finish. It's incredibly glowy, but I'm gonna try and give this to a friend who's a couple shades darker than me and see if she enjoys it. In terms of setting powders, I had two in here. This one from History of Who, I think is what this is. Beautiful Korean packaging, pops up and then has the powder underneath. This powder actually has a little bit of coverage to it, and I found that it actually helped set this cushion foundation that was very, very glowy and almost bordered on a little oilyish on my skin. Set this down and made a beautiful combo. So I do like this. I almost consider this to be a powder foundation versus just a setting powder, but I liked it, so I'm gonna hang on to it. Plus the packaging, I mean, come on. And then the other setting powder I had in here was from Besame. This was their Snow White Ever After Translucent Pearl Powder. Had a puff in here that I never used. It's a very flat puff, which is interesting, but this has a really pretty silky texture. It doesn't really add any sort of color to your skin. It really is translucent, but it has a really soft pearl sheen to it. Very, very, very subtle. Beautiful. So I enjoyed this. I'm going to put this back. In terms of bronzers, I had two in here. So I had my matte Ulta bronzer in the shade Cool. I loved this bronzer. I still love this bronzer. I think it has a great undertone. It's not chalky. It's got a nice texture. It's not so pigmented that it like scares me on my cheek. So this is a great one if you are cool toned and you're looking for a matte bronzer. And I lied. That was the only other bronzer I had besides the one in the Fiona Styles palette. So let's talk blush because there's quite a few in here. So this is from the Creme Shop. This is their Mon Cherie blush in Rosé Day. I really enjoyed this. It is a matte blush. It's kind of a neutral mauvey pink blush. It's really, really, really pretty. It blended onto my skin incredibly well. It has a nice sort of slip to it, so it never looked chalky. It just sat on my skin beautifully. Of all the things I tried from the Creme Shop, this has definitely been my favorite. I do think they have a couple more shades, but I want to say all the other shades have some shimmer in them, and I think this was the only matte one, but I could see this color and working for a ton of different people who just like that sort of neutral peach blush. So This is great. The other blush that I just couldn't make myself put down was from Kiko Milano. This is the Marmoreal Biscuit shade. Also sort of a neutral blush, but this one goes a little bit, oh, shoot. I'm determined to break all of my Kiko blushes. I dropped one last time we filmed, and now I'm dropping this one. This one has a really pretty intense sheen to it, not quite like glittery or anything, but it's a very similar undertone to the one that we just talked about. But if you can see that there, it has a really pretty shine to it. Makes your skin just look absolutely gorgeous. So this was the other blush that I just, every time I went into this drawer, I wanted to grab this one. I had to make myself stop. Here's the other Kiko blush, my very sad one that broke. So the pink side broke. I've got maybe a tiny bit that I can pull off of it, but this was my most sort of neutral brown blush. Unfortunately, they don't make these anymore. I am a huge fan of the boring blush, as you can see. On a pinker note, this is from Etude House. This is a, what did they call these? The Lovely Cookie Blush. This is number 10, Peach Parfait. It has a cute little puff, which I've never used, and I've hung on to this little plastic sheet to keep it nice and like fresh too. But this is a very light peach blush. In fact, unless you are super fair, this is just gonna look probably strange and chalky on you, but on my cheeks, it actually was really pretty. This is from Jordana. This is the shade Sweet Honey. This is a really pretty orange blush. Like, it's an orangey peach blush, and I've really enjoyed this. Every time I had a really warm look on my eyes, I was like, oh, that blush is gonna be perfect. It's orange, but not like sickeningly orange on someone as cool toned as me. Just a really fun blush color, and these Jordana blushes I think are totally underrated at the drugstore and are also cruelty free, so really enjoyed this. And then last blush is a glowy blush. This is from Majolica Majorca Puffed Cheek Blush. I had been referring to this as the brand being Majolica Majorca, but it is actually Shiseido, if I remember correctly. If I'm saying that wrong, I'll put it on the screen. Beautiful rose pattern to the inside of this blush. Really pretty sort of pinky peach blush, definitely a little bit more coral leaning than peach leaning. So I thoroughly enjoyed this blush as well. Nicely glowy on the skin without being glittery. And then we had two highlighters in here. This is one from Nabi. This is one I got on the Shop Hush website, but I don't think it's on there anymore. This is the shade A703H. It has a name. I'll put it down in the comments below. It is a baked highlighter. It's got a really pretty white sheen to it, but it's not like stark white. Even though it looks fairly white in the pan here, it really does reflect a little bit more neutral on the skin, and it's pretty strong. I mean, you can build this up pretty intensely, or you can wear it a little bit more naturally. I just think it looks really pretty on my skin, doesn't emphasize texture. It was super cheap. I mean, the packaging is super cheap, but it's a really lovely product. The other highlighter I had in here I liked slightly less. In fact, I didn't really like it at all. It's got beautiful packaging on the flip side. It's got this marble texture. So this is from the Face Shop. This is their Marble Beam highlighter. It looks really pretty inside. It's got this little brush that is totally useless, and then this really beautiful pinky marble purple green texture to it, and it's kind of a junk highlighter. It doesn't show up on the skin at all. It comes with quite a lot of large micro shimmer sparkles in here that are probably not going to show up. And look at what just happened. Okay, never had that happen before. Okay, it is apparently my time to deal with broken products. I don't even know how to get this up. Alrighty then. Well, that is donezo. I'm just gonna chuck this. I was gonna try and give it to a friend, but I don't want to pass some junked up product or repressed nonsense on. So, all right, let's throw this out. And then the last thing in this section here is in the back, which you can't see on film right now, is my CoverFX Perfect Setting Powder. I'm still going through this. I've really only used it to set underneath my eyes, so it just goes incredibly slowly. So I'm gonna leave that in there. I'm gonna clean this up, and then we'll look at the last section down there. All right, so we have eyeshadows and lipsticks left. Let's look at these single shadows. The bulk of my single shadows were actually from these City Color shimmer shadows. So let me swatch those for you real fast. So these have a really pretty high foil shine. They do have mineral oil in them, so they also get a little bit of thickness from that. So I do feel like these work better with your finger because they almost feel kind of like a cream powder hybrid almost. So this is the shade New Year, New Me. This is Cheers to Life. This taupey shade is Sandstorm, and then this pinky cranberry shade is Ladylike. These were a lot of fun to play with, so we'll go ahead and put these back. I also had this Manna Kadar shadow in here in Fantasy, really pretty sort of soft rose gold shade, less foiled than the ones we just looked at, but still has a really pretty shine to it. Why do I feel like I'm having such a hard time getting solid swatches? These feel really washed out. Apologize guys if these have not been swatching well. I'm filming at night. I usually film during the daytime, and there's a little more natural light in this room. I'm having to rely completely on studio lights to film this, and I don't feel like it's going the best. So that was really pretty. Has been one of my favorite sort of single shades to travel with for work as well. And then this is a Kiko Milano cream shadow number 5. This is beautiful sort of silvery pink. I don't know, it's really intense foiled shadow there. Almost wet looking on the skin. You can see that there. So those are the other singles I had in here. And then I also had this J Manual Beauty quad. One of the shades has popped out, so I do need to glue it back in, but this just makes such a soft, pretty, natural look. I just think it is a little quad that is super boring in the pan, and then for some reason when you put these shades on your eyes, they all blend together incredibly well and just have a really soft, multi-dimensional look that's very natural, very pretty. I really enjoy this quad quite a bit. I had my Inglot palette that I made myself in the Inglot store in here this last month. This is such a pretty palette. I mean, every time I pull it out and play with it, I just get so happy with the pinks and the purples and the greens and just the neutrals. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I had been swatching all of these things here and realized that I didn't have my little microphone attached to my shirt, which means it was sitting on the floor, which means if it picked up any audio, it's going to be super, super faint and totally crap. So I'm gonna go through these with you guys and then try and put my original footage over the top and hopefully salvage the last part of this video because, well, it's been a minute since I filmed and I'm clearly failing tonight. I may have to call it a night and not film anymore. I've swatched all of these here so you can kind of see how all these colors come together. The color palette just makes me super happy. I love the pinks. That matte purple is probably one of my favorite matte purples in my whole collection. And just the combination of the greens and the pinks and the purples and the silvery cooler taupes, it just makes me really happy. I also played around with this 9-pan palette that I had put together myself. So up in the upper corner are 4 shadows from Makeup Geek. This was their fall bundle and I really enjoyed all 4 of these shades. This one in the corner is a little prestige shadow, duochrome, absolutely beautiful. Down one is a ColourPop shade in Just in Time. And then down in the bottom row are 3 from Sydney Grace. This is the shade Brilliant in the corner, which is absolutely brilliant. And then Haystack is in the middle, and then Woodland is at the end. The color combo in here was a lot of fun to play with. I loved this yellow kind of with this terracotta orange color. This bottom shade from Sydney Grace in Brilliant is absolutely one of the most amazing shades I think she's put out. It's wet and foiled and absolutely gorgeous on the lid. So I had a lot of fun playing with this. It is my intention to do another 9-pan palette this next month and just kind of pull in more of my single shadows, but I really did enjoy how this one turned out this last month. On to some Korean palettes. The first up is from Clio. This is their Pro Layering Eye Palette. This is Handcraft number 2. This one is just really soft and pretty. None of the colors are super bold. They're all a little muted, but it gives a really soft, beautiful effect on the lid. You have kind of a combination of mattes and satins in here. I don't find a ton of really foiled metallic or glittery shades, at least in the shops that I've been in Korea, but I absolutely love the pigmentation on these. I mean, you can't deny how stunning these colors actually are, and they just blend together and work so well. This is definitely my favorite Korean eyeshadow formula that I've tried to date. And then the other Korean palette I had in here is from a company called Wake Make. This is their their 16 color Balm Eyes in 01. This palette has a really interesting combination of warm and cool shades. It has this little sort of silver contraption that slides back to reveal shades down at the end. These are not cream shadows, so I don't know what the point of covering this up is. I don't know if this is supposed to be a palette that you're like putting mixing medium on and mixing shades, or if it's just meant to protect these lighter 4 shades at the end, but there's some lighter shades in the palette that aren't protected, so I'm not entirely sure. The pigmentation in here is actually really pretty. The red is really nice. I do really enjoy playing around with this one. This one has, I would say, 3 different textures. It has a satin, it has a matte, and then it has a couple of these more shimmery metallic shades that they're thin, but they have this really strong wet look on this eye. It is probably the most metallic shadow that I've tried so far from a Korean beauty brand. So all in all, just a really pretty fun palette to play with, lots of different color combos. And then the last palette that was in here is my Studio Makeup On The Go. This is their warm up palette. I picked this one because I wanted something to kind of combine with some of my single shadows, and I thought a really nice neutral palette like this would be perfect. I do really enjoy the colors in here. They blend really well. They're really pigmented. The shimmer shades have a nice intensity to them. I don't think I like the color scheme in this one as much as I do the Cool Toned palette, which is one we played around with last week, but I do think it's absolutely beautiful palette, great quality, so had fun playing with that. And then moving on to lipstick, let's talk about these two here from the Crim shop. The first is their Kiss It Better lip crayon. This is in the shade Are You Okay? This is just really sheer and doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. It has a little bit of a waxy feel to it, and so I enjoyed it over top of the next product we're going to talk about here, but to be honest, on its own it really just didn't impress me. I have things I like a lot better that are more hydrating, that give a prettier tint to the lips than this does. On the flip side, I really did like their Lip Lock lip liner. This is in sort of a plastic packaging, very similar to ColourPop, so make sure you have a pretty strong sharpener before you use this. Sometimes some of those cheapy drugstore ones really don't handle these plastic packages well. I have an Urban Decay Grindhouse. It's probably some of the best money I've spent. I really love this shade though. It's a really pretty pinky nude, really creamy, really comfortable, great formula. I did enjoy pairing the Kiss It lip crayon over top of this to kind of add a little bit more moisture and make it less matte. And I liked the combo, but I don't necessarily think I would recommend you go out and buy the Kiss It balm even for that effect. But the lip liner, it's definitely great. I also played around with one of these Kiko Milano. This is their Velvet Passion matte lipstick. This is in the shade 315. This is a really pretty sort of pinky rose color. It's got mauve to it, but it's got a lot more pink than mauve. I also played around with this Peri Para Airy Ink Velvet. This is the shade 10. This is their most mauve shade. This is a liquid lipstick that doesn't dry down all the way, but it definitely gives you a matte effect after it sets down. It's not transfer proof, but it still is incredibly comfortable while giving you a more of a velvet matte lipstick look on your lips. But you can always sort of rub your lips together and it never feels like it's dried out or is like settling into lip lines. It's just a really interesting formula and I think it's a lot of fun. You can find these now at CVS. A lot of local CVS's are carrying a fairly large Peri Para display. I also was playing around with this MUA Makeup Academy in lipstick in the shade Coral. This is a really sort of desaturated coral that's a little bit deeper. It's less sort of bright pinky coral and definitely more orange leaning and a little deeper. This is a great creamy formula that I really enjoy quite a bit. Moving back, we've got a couple of really pretty products from some Korean brands. This is from the history of, I think it's the history of Faux, if I remember correctly. This shade is number 20 or 13, one of the two. I think it's number 13 as I look at this. It's a really pretty sort of mauvey balm texture. This is sort of one of my everyday lipsticks and the packaging on this is just, it's absolutely stunning packaging. So, and then the lip gloss I was also from this brand, and unfortunately this was a GWP when I was over there and I can't find it online. I looked all over for you guys after my last video. I can't find it, unfortunately. It's a really pretty clear gel with a lot of gold shimmer in it. Beautiful packaging as well, but unfortunately, unless you're in Korea, I don't know if you're going to be able to find this. And then I was also playing around with this Clio Tension Lip Oil. This is the shade 12 Nude Thrill. This is a really comfortable, balmy lip product that still packs a ton of pigment in it. And this is a really nice, sort of deeper, warm, brownish shade, kind of, but not super brown. It's more nude than brown, and I really enjoyed this quite a bit. Moving to the back, we've got a lip gloss from Noya. This is the shade Malbec. This is a really nice berry shade, very hydrating, very comfortable on the lips, has enough color to stand on its own without needing anything else underneath it, but you can also sheer it out and get this really pretty soft sort of berry stain to your lips. Really comfortable, enjoyed this quite a bit. And then this product from Manna Kadar, I really enjoy. This is their Lip Lock Priming Gloss Stain. This is in the shade Lucky. This is more of a lip lacquer, but not a super sticky one. So this is gonna go all over, be fully opaque, and really comfortable and shiny all over your lips. This is a little Ulta Beauty Matte Lip Cream. This is in the shade Bombshell. I have to admit, I like the color of this, but I do not care for the formula at all. It's incredibly drying. It settled into every single lip line that I had, really made my lips look parched and just unattractive, to be honest. It got better if I put a balm over the top, but then it's pretty much just a lipstick. You've lost any sort of staying power from it. And if I'm going to do that sort of two-part combo, I've just got lipsticks I like better than this. So I do think I'm going to pass this one on. I don't really enjoy it. And then this is from a Korean brand called Eco Soul. This is their Kiss Button Lips. It's from a brand called The Same. This is shade 04. It's a really light peach color. This was great when I was wearing warmer looks, but wanted a more nude colored lip. And then the last lip product I had in here is from NYX. This is their Slip Tease lipstick in the shade Fire Dancer. This is very comparable, I think, to the ColourPop sort of Ultra Satins. It has a little bit more of a slip to it when you first put it on, but it sets down, and while it's not transfer proof, it's incredibly pigmented and it doesn't really move around on your lips, and it feels really comfortable as well. It's not drying like that Ulta one I just mentioned, so it's a really interesting formula. And I did finally get around to wearing this sort of rusty red shade, so that is that. All right, guys, so this drawer is now empty. I am going to be filming a second video here, shopping my stash and looking for new products to put in for this next month. Give this video a thumbs up if you love shop my stash type videos, and I look forward to chatting with you guys down in the comments. Bye.